People join LinkedIn thinking they'll get a dream job.
Build the trust, connect with the audience.
Keep banging doors until someone opens it.
How much I was crying, I know.
Whatever he writes goes viral.
Top most influential creators.
Keep cracking bad jokes.
I'm broke.
You don't have to pay me, we can talk.
No facade.
People thought I was being serious.
It's unethical.
They can't afford to fake themselves.
Dance? Go to the temple?
You write whatever you believe in. Numbers don't lie.
Welcome to our next episode of Instant Influence, the podcast created for marketers, by marketers, and with marketers. If you want to learn the growth hacks, if you want to understand more about performance marketing or brand marketing, more about campaigns, or more about the ROAS and how it's calculated, or MMP, etc., we inviting a very experienced digital marketers to present and speak with us. Today I'm hosting a very special guest, Shitiz, who is Associate Director at Indigo and is one of the most witty and creative digital marketers I know. He's been recognized as top 250 most influential creators on LinkedIn, has 64,000 followers. And why? Because he puts really awesome content. He picks up industry, different very interesting topics or discussions, covers up, shares his opinion, and it's really extremely interesting to hear from him. He has an entrepreneur background. He worked in the large corporates. He was keeping jobs and seeing different profiles, and really his experience is so diverse. So I'm looking forward to learn a lot from him today. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me here.
Slightly nervous having such a witty marketer with me.
Not at all. I'll crack bad jokes.
That's okay. We will keep it. No restrictions on our podcast.
Awesome. Yeah.
We will start on something. PepsiCo.
Yeah.
I have a icebreaker
Yeah.
when I bring my speakers, right? I try to connect with people, of course. And for you, it is PepsiCo.
Yeah.
And I think you know why.
I know. I think you read a story that I wrote about PepsiCo.
Firstly, that's your gift.
Oh,
for
thank
today.
you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
that's
I
for
finally
you.
have it. Yeah.
Yes, and then secondly, our audience doesn't know, right, the story. Why I'm giving PepsiCo, like, dude.
PepsiCo turned out to be our biggest client.
Yes,
right?
that's exactly.
And we cracked PepsiCo, after so many iterations. But the story goes, since my childhood, I was a huge Pepsi fan, of course. I would want one big bottle to myself, right? A 300 ml bottle.
Okay.
I would hug it and sit with it. I would not share it with anyone. I love the brand so much. PepsiCo was always my kind of a dream company to work for.
To
right?
work for,
right? But it so turned out that when we had a startup, we won the PepsiCo account, right? And I had a chance to meet the leaders as well and tell them this story. It was kind of a life coming full circle type of moment. Being a startup co-founder, you will keep banging doors until someone opens up, and that's what we were doing, right?
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know it very well. Everything went smooth, and then they give us a call that, would you like to work for us? Of course, we were ecstatic, right? As a startup, we were getting to work on the PepsiCo account and all of that.
You are in the top most influential creators on LinkedIn.
See, I have been creating on and off, but I have not been too consistent. It's only this year that I have been consistent. And consistency is a superpower. Just try to be consistent with one thing for 1 year, and then you'll see the difference. I'll give a very simple example. In January this year, I decided that, I'll be active every day.
365
Yes.
days.
So I started off January with around 11,000 followers maybe on LinkedIn.
And now 64.
Now 64, right? So I think it can only happen as long as you don't have a facade. You write whatever you believe in,
Yeah.
right? And you're consistent. I've always been like that. Be it a startup, the jobs that I've done throughout my career, I will never try to show something that I'm not. That principle I apply in almost everything I do, especially in creation. I'm a funny person. Everybody knows that. I keep cracking bad jokes or good jokes as well. I love puns, and I'm always trying to find the bright spark in a situation. My brother and I, we've always been like the people who are always making everyone laugh. That probably also became the bedrock of creativity for me personally. Creativity comes a lot from observation. If you see most of the so-called creators, they are extremely observant people, right? The nuances of human behavior. They think about it, and they think about it hard.
Process?
Exactly, the process. More often than not, whatever I write probably about the corporate world and the way people operate, it has some parallel to the way something else in the world might operate. So I think that only comes from the rigor and consistency that you bring to the table, and it's very important to be observant.
I want to add here influencer, the
Yeah.
person who really able to build the trust, connect with the audience, and
Right.
that is authenticity.
It
no,
is.
no facade.
It is. It is absolutely. I'll give a very small example. So there's a very famous actor. He's a writer also in the Bollywood industry. His name is Manav Kaul, and he was there in the film Kai Poche as well. He has written, I think, 6-7 books. He writes in Hindi. A very passionate writer. So he once said in Hindi, he said, "मैं वो नहीं हूँ जो मैं दिखता हूँ. मैं वो हूँ जो मैं लिखता हूँ." So I'm not the one who what you see. I'm not the one who looks the way it looks, right? I'm the one the way I write. So if you want to know me up and personal, see what I write. And probably that's what you will see with most of the the biggest authors. They don't mince their words.
Yeah.
They try to, whatever they're feeling, they try to bring it to the table. And more often than not, writing is that process, right? It's kind of a catharsis. What
Yeah.
you can't share with anyone, you will bring it on paper or you'll find a release. That's how it is with the world, right?
Inhale.
Exactly. That's how it happens. Of course, you have to be very careful the way you're putting it out as well. So I went to MICA for my MBA. It's very different from a typical B school, and we had various courses. We had film studies, we had culture and communication. We were basically fed up on. We were basically fed, not fed up. We were fed on a lot of interesting, documentaries from across the world to understand how global communication functions. So that gave us a sense how you have to be mindful about the way you write. You will be marketers or communicators of the future. How different people from different sects of society will perceive your content. You have to be very mindful of that. What you might write, let's say, as an Indian, might not resonate with some other country. For example, you have to be very, balanced in terms of your cultural nuances. Also,
Tell me about it.
Absolutely, you're the best person to know about it.
Who's come from different cultural
So
background.
I think that's very important, right? I think my writing process has made me be extremely mindful in the way I think and marshal my thoughts, and then I write about it. Typically, it's a lot of mental work, but I think it's like exercise. You have to train yourself for it over the years. Famous writers in India, Javed Akhtar, once said, to write well, you have to read well.
That's
and you
true.
have to read a lot, right?
Yeah.
So good writing is 80% good reading and 20% writing. So I have tried a lot to do that. I'll give an example. So 3 years ago, I read 84 books in 1 year.
84 books.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Then it came down to 32. Then it came down to 23. I think this year I have read 5 books, out of which 2 were graphic novels. I've been buying a lot of books, right? So
but you're unable to find time.
I'm an idiot who keeps buying a lot of books, thinking that I have 100 years to live. Kind of a mental comfort to buy books and look at them. I think I'm pretty stupid that way. 3 years ago, when I read so many books, I chanced upon some brilliant authors. For example, Kyrgyzstan. Chingiz Aytmatov is a very famous author, and he's written some brilliant stuff. His most famous book is Jamilia. It's a 100-page love story. It's a beautiful novel. So I chanced upon those, international authors, and the way their culture has some similarity to probably some sects in India. I think that gave me a sense that the human behavior and the cravings, we are all craving the same things.
Yeah.
Right? We are all craving belonging.
We are from the same breed.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think good reading also gives you a peek into how humans perceive emotions, how they express emotions, and how, in a way, we're all similar. I think that sensibility comes from a lot of reading, and I keep telling people to pick up a book, because picking up a book and getting started is the hardest part.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And you also have your own book, right?
Oh yeah.
As a writer, you also can hear it.
So I wanted to cut out at least one book, because, like I told you, I want to leave something behind.
Yeah.
Before I go, and it was not meant for commercial success. Right? It was meant only because I wanted
express
to probably,
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I want to keep a piece of my heart out there in the world for people to see. And every single poem which I've written in that book is a story. It has some memory or some encounter behind it. Whatever I have experienced or observed, I just put it out there.
Speaking about creativity so much, right? Because as a marketers, to keep creativity, to keep innovative ideas, it's extremely important, right?
Yes, it is.
But at the same time, I know that you're a very data-driven marketer.
Yes, absolutely.
When you need to measure everything what is coming out.
Correct. See, I'll be very honest. I'm majorly a right-brained person. I'm not too analytical. I'm good at math and science. That's a different thing. And then that's why I did engineering and all of that. But deep within, I'm a very creative person. But I chose marketing by choice because I know I can do good at it. And I had to basically condition my brain to find a balance between analytics, and numbers and ideas, basically, right? And it's a fact, right? Numbers don't lie. You can't fudge up numbers.
Yeah.
If people are liking it, you will see it. If people are not liking it, you will not see it. As simple as that. And I think that's why, it's very important for a marketer to create campaigns with proper insight and a little bit of gut, that people, you
That
need
is,
that.
it's also comes from observation,
Exactly.
right?
But the validation will come from numbers.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
It's as simple as that. So you have to always be mindful of that, you don't create campaigns out of your own vanity. You're doing it with the purpose. But if that purpose is being met, numbers will tell you.
Quick question about your LinkedIn and numbers. What was the best post ever you've done in terms of numbers?
I have done a lot of posts that have reached 1 million impressions, and there are, I think I have had 5-6 viral posts till date that got picked up by tabloids, and most of them were jokes. People thought I was being serious. But then some posts have done really well because they had a purpose. When LinkedIn started, right, LinkedIn was supposed to be a kind of a platform where people would be very honest in sharing their knowledge and their experiences, right? But then somewhere along the way, it became like just another social platform where people basically mindlessly pick your content and pass it off as their own. It's plagiarism, right? So I have seen it a lot of times happening.
So your content gets picked up by
A
someone?
lot of times. Picking up is fine, but at least you should give the rightful mention or the credit to the author. And the sad part is the people copying it are the ones who already have thousands of hundreds of thousands of followers. People having upwards of 100K followers are doing such acts, which is very sad. It's disappointing because somewhere numbers bring influence in a way, in a manner of speaking, right?
Yeah.
But then this is not the right behavior, right?
It's not, it's unethical.
It's unethical. Absolutely, it is unethical. I wrote a post in which I deemed this behavior through an acronym. I called it CVWS. I just made it up, right? It was called Control V Without Shame. People are doing CVWS, and of course that post went viral, and it had like 6,000 likes and 1 million impressions, and people were covering it and all of that. There were a few tabloids. I think Storyboard 18 also covered it. There were a few people who gave me mentions in their stories that this is rampant on LinkedIn, and people are trying to call it out. Unfortunately, I've seen that people are not apologetic about it. I don't know why. Now I don't pay too much attention to it.
Okay, now you became a big C when people.
No, I'm not big at
no,
all.
No, no, no.
I'm not big, no, not at all.
When people stop caring, it means that it's the first.
See, I still don't believe it, right? Because honestly, I don't believe it. Because a lot of my friends, they keep telling me you have influence. I said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm telling you have influence. People pay attention to what you write. People seek help from you. People seek guidance from you and all of that.
No, you definitely have influence because, yeah, I also have a lot of friends from digital marketing industry.
Yeah.
And when I was preparing for the podcast, I said, I was chatting with a couple of like, what questions to ask? Like, they said, oh, you getting this guy. I follow him on LinkedIn. And you build it in a year because 11,000 followers, like,
it's nothing.
It's more than less if you're active.
Yeah.
And you, because it's a business network. Correct. And you do some kind
Correct.
of business, right?
Yeah.
That we focus. You will get it.
Yeah.
But 64,000 followers, it's already, and I see amount of reactions. See, I build a tech platform, right?
Yeah.
He identifies a real influence.
Correct.
And I understand the parameters, metrics. LinkedIn is coming up.
Yeah.
As a new network.
Yeah,
as a social network.
Correct.
They build that feature for reels,
yes.
like kind of
stuff. I know. So yeah, the engagement is pretty high. I'm just focusing on being consistent and relevant because I think relatability is the single most factor that works on a platform like LinkedIn and other places as well. But it's super high on LinkedIn. More often than not, people are their truest selves. So there is a selfish motive behind it, right? People join LinkedIn thinking they'll get a dream job.
Right.
Or they will get to know people or meet people they look up to, right? Or probably they think that this could be a road to their switch in career or something else, right? Maybe guidance. They can't afford to fake themselves too much. That kind of brings a little bit of authenticity to the table. And in the way people interact with your content as well, it shows. A little bit professionalism is needed. Not many people follow it, but the ones who do are the ones who are pretty serious about their careers. In the way they do it. Even students are being active on LinkedIn. They're writing.
Students are very
They're creating
active.
so much content. They're creating so much content. Last year I went to this university near Jaipur. It's called Banasthali University. It's an all women university. So I was addressing a group of around 500 odd girls in an auditorium, and I was taking a session on strategic communications. One of the organizers in the core committee for that event is a girl. Her name is Chinmaya, and she had 64,000 followers last year
On LinkedIn.
on LinkedIn.
She's a student.
She's a student. She's been consistent. One of her posts had 180,000 likes and like 1,100 shares or something like this. Unbelievable numbers, right? But that's what probably speaks volumes about what the platform can do for you.
No, platform absolutely can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And what we measure, it's not only engagement rates that you have
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
It's ability to go viral.
Correct.
And that's clickbait is coming, right?
Oh, yeah.
On certain level.
And so clickbaity content works in spurts. But like I said, my key takeaway has been relatability. I will not take names. I know a lot of people who are so-called influencers have followers upwards of 100K. They just rip off WhatsApp jokes and they post it every day mindlessly. They don't create original content.
But they do not have influence.
They don't have influence. Exactly. That's what the point I was going to make. They don't have influence.
Because what I believe and what is our platform belief, quality of the audience is more important than quantity, size.
Absolutely.
Because, like, for example, I'm also going into creator space. I start building my Instagram profile and etc. It will support my career.
Yes.
You understand personal branding. You've done fantastic. But for example, say me being a foreign girl in India, what will be the easiest way to get many followers? I shall dress like Indian, which I don't do in normal life. I can't wear sari. It's uncomfortable. Dance. Go to the temple, right?
Make reels.
Make reels how I go to the temple, cook Indian
But that's
food.
not where I want to be, right?
But it's not me.
Exactly, it's not me.
Like, I have nothing against to the Russians or any foreigners who do that if it's their life. It's authenticity.
And rightly so, right? I have a few instances where people wrote to me, they DM'd me on LinkedIn saying, I'm a student, I'm ready to pay you, please guide me for a course. I said, you don't have to pay me, we can talk. I've helped a few people on WhatsApp. People, I tell them, you send me questions, I will answer through voice notes. That's what I do. And that's what I've been doing. It's really amazing that even the simplest of concepts are probably explained to people with the right example. You might not probably learn a lot if you're not following the right people on LinkedIn. I follow some amazing people on LinkedIn, and I don't see competition as competition. I see them as a learning opportunity.
Of course, exchange of experience.
Exactly.
Observe.
I honestly mean it, right? So last year on 31st of December, I wrote a post on LinkedIn about 10 people you should follow on LinkedIn, and I have been following them day in and day out, and I've learned so much from them.
Pick up few names because the audience would like to know.
Sarthak Ahuja is a finance guy. He creates some amazing content. I don't know how he knows everything what's going on in world economies. He will tell you what business is working in Kenya, where you should invest and blah, blah, blah. It's amazing. This guy called Jagdish J. I think he is a digital marketing god. I learn a lot from him. We have never spoken. There are a few, other creators also. In terms of copywriting space, Shantesh is a very good guy and he writes a lot. Neil Jadhav, he is ex-marketing head of Akasa. And he coined a term. He said, Shitiz Dogra is the Zomato of LinkedIn. Whatever he writes goes viral. There's so much praise coming from people, I don't know if I deserve it or not. So these are some of the people that, I look forward to their content a lot because there's a lot to learn. Not just in terms of how they create content, but how they are honest in the way they deliver the content. I think that's very important.
I absolutely agree. The way how you put your thoughts and what thoughts you put,
Correct.
matters most.
So yeah, that's about honesty and influence, I guess. Building a brand and performance marketing.
Problem statement for India.
You are at the mercy of the platform. The platform won't lie.
Everything is trackable.
Otherwise, you will not get it.
The intent to create demand.
You should do that organically.
Can you work on cost per sale?
It doesn't work like that.
Consistently keep biting market share.
They sell greatness.
AI influencers replace the real influencers.
How can someone think of that? You're just a product. You're not a brand.